Okay, guys, you wanted it. Here it is. Let's talk warm-up routines. So raise your hand if you're the girl that gets to the jackpot 2 hours before and starts loping your horse 30 minutes before the event even starts. I've been that girl, okay? I've been her. What I learned was as I started riding better and better and better horses, I actually was cranking up a fire I could not put out. I would lope them down and have really good results. But the problem was I was loping them down, which was also conditioning them. So if I had to lope for 10 minutes for the first week of events, then I started needing to lope for 15 minutes and 20 minutes, and then I couldn't put the fire out. So it was up to me to get to the barrel races even earlier, really messed up my routine. The better shape I got them in at home, then when they got antsy and got to the event, it was a nightmare, especially if I had a blowout on the way, if I had something go wrong. It was really, really hard on me to maintain that routine. So let's also talk about something else that you might not have thought about. And that is, how long does it take you to get ready? Because that's part of your warm-up too. What does it take for you to be able to go from unloading your horse to walking down the alleyway? How much mental preparedness does it take for you to be warmed up here, and warmed up on your horse? So a lot of us like to really go through this whole gamut of things that we do. I caution you on taking too long to do this. I always warm up in a hurry. In fact, my best runs are when I'm running late. You'll probably notice that that's the same for you, and there's a few reasons why. One, you don't have long enough to troubleshoot in your mind all of the things that may go wrong during your run. Also, you may not have enough time to look around at all the competition and see who it is that might be there that might really intimidate you. May not even intimidate you. You may have somebody you don't really like, and you start cussing them out in your head. You know how that is, where you start just like fighting them, and if they come up to me, this is what I'm going to say. All of those things take away from the ultimate goal, which is making a really beautiful run. So when you get your stuff ready, one thing that I like to do is be neurotic about the horse trailer, the tack room, everything in it. Stormy came up with a fantastic solution this week, which is bridle bags for each horse. We have a cheap little bridle bag. They're $10. A helmet goes in there, the bridle, their competition bridle, everything is in there zipped up so that we don't have to worry about all these people using different things. I love having the experienced girls in, and they've all been amazing. They're all most likely a student in BRC. One of them took Baby Flo's competition headstall completely apart in a panic trying to get a bridle ready for another horse, which, of course, I wanted to lose it, but she didn't know, so I had to take it easy on her. I love you, Mads. So having those competition things set up and zipped up helps be one more thing that you can be not stressed about, something else that you're not thinking about, especially if you switch out trailers or you've got a really, really busy schedule. You want everything to just be in its place, so you don't have to go from the barn to the trailer. If you can afford it, get dupes of everything that you have. I like to duplicate my bridle. Obviously, most of us are not going to be able to duplicate our saddles and our saddle pads, but if that's the only thing you have to carry, then it really minimizes the chance of something going super wrong. Buckets preloaded, a water gallon tank for my water is preloaded, treats. I just try to get dupes of as many things as I possibly can. If you use rubber bands, excuse me, make sure that you have plenty of those, because again, if that's something that you use that makes you feel confident, make sure that you never run out. Get them on Amazon, buy the bag, they come the next day. That's something really, really easy to do. When doing a warm-up, I make sure that on the way to the event, I don't do a lot of talking about what's going to happen. I try to just react to what I see. My muscle memory works in a way, and so does yours, that if we can just be reactionary, like someone's throwing a ball that's about to hit us and we just move, we can do really cool superhuman things. If we try to predict what's actually going to happen, we do terrible. And why do we even try to predict it in the first place? Because it never goes the way we think it is. I could be making a flawless run, the ground breaks out from underneath me, and I've got a 1,000-pound horse laying on top of me before I ever even know what happened. So I know that that's not totally a part of your warm-up routine, but everything comes back to mental preparedness. So just think about it. If you can't find your keys and you're always scrambling, you're always late for places, that's going to get on you mentally. So let's rewind time. Let's go all the way back to loading the horses in the trailer. That's really where the entire warm-up routine starts. If you're perpetually late, pack your things the night before. If you're perpetually late, set an alarm for an hour earlier than what you normally do. If you have trouble getting up with your alarm, if you have trouble setting those goals, make sure that you read the 5-second rule by Mel Robbins. I absolutely love it, and it'll help you spring out of bed. When you get everything loaded, if everything's impeccable, if everything's in its place, it's going to free your mind up for a lot of things that are going to go wrong, which is potentially a flat, maybe you're fighting with your friend or a spouse. All of those things you've got a little bit more room for, and it's not going to take out as much on your performance that day. Remember, you're an athlete. This is not just a fun little hobby for you. This is a very dangerous sport that you've invested a lot of time and money in. So make sure that you're doing your very best to be as professional about the way you carry yourself. One day I woke up and I said, I wonder how a world champion would practice, long before I won my gold buckle, and I made a routine list of how a world champion would practice. I'm going to put that worksheet down for you just so you can see the changes that I made to my life and my routine, what I thought a world champion would do, and boom, now I get to say that I'm the world champion and I can help you guys build that routine too. So your world champion worksheet will be here. I'm going to leave some lines for you guys to think about some things. And I would love to see some comments about what you can change on that list that you've thought up that make your plans even better. One thing that Stormy does that's absolutely ridiculous, and I love it. This is a crazy, completely off the charts, completely irrelevant thing that we do. But I'm a girl. I love candles. I love everything to smell really good. My happiness in my home depends on how good it smells. So Stormy bought little cheap air fresheners and she hangs them in the horse trailer so that every time I go in there, it smells really fresh and a little bit less like what I call pissy lead rope. Because we know everything smells like shavings and lead ropes. So that's one thing that's really silly, but it keeps us in a lighthearted, really good mood. Just think about it. Every time you open the door and you see a really clean house, how that makes you feel, or when you open the door and you see something really chaotic, how it makes you feel. All of those things impact your performance. So I want you guys to really dissect those things. Wash your splint boots out on the fence days ahead of time. Pack them up the night before. Have everything just sitting and ready and ideal. If you guys have amazing organizational tips, make sure and comment them below. I'll add them for all the other students to see. Now, when you get to the race, your routine is really important. For me, I'm going to tell you exactly what I do. When I get to a race, I try to get there at the very last minute. I try to not get there super, super early. Again, I don't want a lot of distraction. So if I go up there and psych myself out, it really takes away from my performance. I get there in plenty of time to make the entries. I've called ahead to know when the cutoffs for the entries are so that I'm not rushed. I get there, I assess the situation. I have not unloaded my horses out of the trailer. If it is 1,000 degrees outside, there's not much better place for my horse to be than comfortable on shavings with hay in front of them in the shade of my trailer. I do have head fans installed in my trailer. You guys can get your boyfriend, your spouse, or yourself. You can YouTube some ways to install just cheap box fans. If you have a little generator, you can run them off of that. I've done it many ghetto ways. I know that there's very cheap ways, affordable ways that you can do that. If you have somebody that's handy around, you can buy the fans off Amazon and have them mounted really cost effectively. Trailer places are going to cost a lot more, so I like to do that on my own. My horses stay in the trailer. I get those buckets, the ones that kind of you can't really use them many places, and get those, fill them up with water, and let my horses hang their heads out and drink their water while they're waiting for the event. Then the next thing I do is assess how long it's going to be before I run. I take pictures of all the draw sheets so that I can just access my phone, look it up, and see where it is that I am in the draw and estimate. If they're running 50 an hour, it's really easy to tell. I only get on about 10 before. So say I'm runner 50, I'm not going to go to the trailer to saddle until number 30. Then I'm going to go through my warm-up routine, which is saddling, very quickly. I typically stay in my driving clothes before I start saddling because look good, feel good, do good. You're probably going to be sweaty and messy, and then I like to get into the clothes that I'm going to run in. Again, not a big major part of things until you start to really look at if I'm 10% more focused than you because I didn't spill crap all over me, and that takes away from my efforts, then that's going to affect my performance. I know it seems crazy, but if you improve every little thing by 1%, before you know it, you're 30% better without changing a whole lot. So think about everything. I keep my phone on me. I put it in my saddle sack in the front of my saddle, and then I can just keep up with the draw. One thing that I notice is when I get to an event, I see people warming up everywhere, and it really stresses me out to see people on and loping around. I feel like I'm instantly late and like I've done something wrong. I now know that that is part of it, and that there's going to be people all the time that are nervous that are on 3 hours before. So it's just part of life. It's how it is. Getting on your horse and completely wearing them out is not the way around it. What I decided was I went to Lone Star Park where I bought Baby Flo's mother to the racetrack, and I visited with the man that sold me Baby Flo's mother. We got her in a claiming race. She had to win second or they weren't going to sell her, and she did. She tripped coming out of the starting gates, and the rest is history. So I visited with this guy and said, I want to know why racehorses, I don't see them on except for like 3 minutes before they run a mile. That can't be safe. They've got to get injured. He said, no, we warm them up at a walk, slowly, 3 to 5 minutes walking. He said the horses that need to be ponied that are super hot tend to pull a lot more stuff. The horses that we can get to just walk are the horses that we keep sound a lot longer. So why would you walk? Well, the horse actually extends its muscles out at a slow, stretching pace at a relaxed walk. Baby Flo, even in sub-zero temperatures when we rodeo up in the north in the winter, is sweating before a run. So I make sure that I get on with enough time to walk and walk and walk. If you'll notice, my mares are super vascular. I feel like they're really heart healthy because of this. In the off time during the week, I'm riding them really hard, trotting, loping, all those things. But when I get to an event, we simply walk. When they start to get hot, I can't put that fire out. I don't get their mind back, and it starts to work on my brain. The other thing I do is I only remind myself of 2 things before I run while I'm warming up. I don't do rollbacks. I don't pick my horses up. I don't move all over the place. I just walk. When I look at the ground, I envision a barrel there, and I'll allow myself, for me, to turn it a few times to the right and a few times to the left. I will look down and I'll tell myself my personal mantra, which is keep your head down and don't go too fast. I want to keep my head down because I tend to look up too early, and when I look up early, I can lose vital time or I drag barrels over on the backside. Remember, this race is 80% a turning game, not an actual race. So you want to keep your head focused in the game at each barrel. The next thing I tell myself, don't go too fast. I tend to kick a lot, and when I am overly aggressive, I am no longer a technician with my hands, and then I crash over barrels, I run by barrels, my timing is just not as good. So I found if I really want to hustle a horse along, I do that by just squeezing with calf pressure as much as I can. If I need a little bit more than calf pressure, I will just bump my feet with my spurs. I find that that's the easiest thing, and at home when I'm working my horses and I know I'm going to make a run in practice, I do the warm-up routine that I'm going to do at the house, that I'm going to do at the rodeo. That means I walk around for 3 to 5 minutes, then I go through the barrel pattern at the same run speed that I am at the jackpot, as long as my ground is safe, and then I go back and fix any corrections that I want to make. This allows my horse to master our professional program, master what it feels like to run at a rodeo, so that the nerves are not really there. I don't do 15 exhibitions at home. I don't do 15 exhibitions at the show, even if it's a young horse. So what I do is just get on, walk around, and we run them right straight through after we get a horse patterned. This even stands for my 3- and 4-year-olds. I will walk them around and I'll make a run. Now a run to them may mean 30%, 60%, 70%. They may not be quite there yet, but that's what I do. So we start to master things. Remember, you're a beginner at everything. So that's why when you go to the jackpot and you blow a run, you come home and you make it really great, because there's a disconnect there between what you're actually trying to perfect. Excuse me. So I want you guys to start to master your professionalism by making your practices at home, walking around that 3 to 5 minutes, set an alarm on your watch or your phone, then go in, make one hard run. It probably will go to crap because we don't work on mastering that. Come back out, write down 3 things in your notes in your phone that you need to work on for that week, and start to build your drills that you've learned here around it. Hope that helps with this week's course. I want to hear all of your feedback. I'm super excited about it. And make sure and fill out your World Champion worksheets because I want to see them.